want to thank everyone for coming. I want to thank the staff that showed up tonight. Mike and I are trying to keep a promise that we'll have quarterly meetings, and this is one of them. And I'm going to move out of the spotlight there.
Okay.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Steve Huntley. This is Mike Anderson. We're the first ward council members. The plan is we're going to have Ember over here from Developmental Services. Thank you. She's going to give a presentation on Micro-TIF. And then if your project might not work with Micro-TIF, I think Randy Chick's also going to be here and work with Ember. Alyssa from the Hastings Housing Development Corporation, a nonprofit group. She's told me to say that every time I say that because she is not part of the city. So she's going to give a little speech on what her organization can do if it works there. While we're here, if you have concerns, Mike and I will be here to address those. Anything you want to say?
No, just thank you for coming. It's nice to see some people here. Otherwise, it'd just be Steve and I standing up here talking to the chairs.
Yeah.
Well, you wouldn't have to worry about Steve. He could have kept talking.
Yeah, I know.
I will remember you. That's Jim Hill over here. I've known Jim a long time, so. Also, if anyone's interested in serving on any of the boards in the city, I did grab some applications and bring those. So without further ado, Mike, you got anything?
No, you just asked me that.
I'm going to ask you one more time. I'm going to kick it over to Ember B here,
No,
and then we're
no.
done. Ember, it's yours. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'll be just giving a short presentation on Micro-TIF and what that is in case you're not familiar with it. I'm Ember Batelaan, I'm the city planner for the city. So Micro-TIF is also known as Expedited Review of Tax Increment Financing Projects. Go to the next. Oh, that looks like it doesn't quite fit. Well, that's too bad then. So Micro-TIF and tax increment financing is a financing tool to help fund projects in the city. So it uses the tax increment from an increase in your value for your project to then be able to, in this case, be able to repair, rehab, or replace an existing structure or new construction on a vacant lot. So specifically for Micro-TIF, the benefits are that it can be used for smaller redevelopment projects. It's a shorter time frame than just doing a traditional TIF project. And there's less application requirements. So this is a map we've put together. We also have an online version to show what areas of town qualify for Micro-TIF. So two of the main criteria for Micro-TIF is it has to be within a blighted and substandard area. The CRA does blighted studies to determine areas of the city that are blighted and substandard. So we already have these areas within the city that qualify. And then for Micro-TIF, it also looks at how long properties have been within the city limits. It has to be at least 60 years. And then after a project has been completed, for Micro-TIF specifically, it can be no more than $350,000 in value for a single family house. So you may be wondering what Micro-TIF could be used for. This is just one example that if your family is growing, if you need more space in your home, one thing you could do is build an addition onto your home. An addition onto your home would then increase the value of your property, increase those associated taxes, and that difference in taxes will then be collected to be able to pay off the project. Another thing it can be used for is if you have a vacant lot in your neighborhood. Clearly, no one likes having just vacant land that looks like that. We'd much rather see it be a home in the neighborhood for another family. So that's another way it could be used. And then the last one is if you're trying to age in place, your house may not necessarily work for you due to it having stairs up to a porch. There are many different ways that you could rehab your property, fix it up for your needs. As long as it increases the value that's what we'll be looking at with Micro-TIF. So Randy, do you want to talk about?
Sure. Hi, I'm Randy Chick. I'm with the Community Redevelopment Authority, and the last part of the Micro-TIF process will be the financing part of that. And so, as an example, we had an existing 70-year-old home with a current value of $60,000. And you improved that home on the right. You added a garage, you replaced the windows, maybe you remodeled the interior, and I'm just tossing out nice round numbers so they're easy to figure. The County Assessor's Office would review your plans for that. That's part of the application. Once it goes to the city, it's you're going to sit down with the County Assessor, and they're going to try and determine what that increase in value will be. So in this particular project, we're proposing a new value of $160,000. So that increase in value after the improvements is $100,000. Currently, our mill levy is 1.996872. That is approximately $2 per thousand of valuation. So a $60,000 house has taxes of about $1,200. That's what they're paying on that existing home. Once it's complete, those new taxes, they're going to go up about $2,000 to $3,200. So that's the increase. That's the TIF revenue, or the tax increment, $2,000. The CRA then can capture that increased tax for 15 years. And so that will equal $30,000 over the 15-year term. Next slide there, Tony, maybe. Oh, go back.
So for this slide, we are talking about
Go back.
the TIF process. So like Randy had mentioned, you'd start with discussions with the county, with development services, and then submit an application to the Development Services Department. The next step would be it's reviewed within the 30-day process. That is established by state statute. We can have no more than 30 days. So that's what I mean with it's a lot shorter of a process than a traditional TIF project, which could take up to 3 months to go through. So then I would go to the city and CRA, city council for approval. And then next slide. Well, I don't know what that one says, but
Construction within 2 years.
okay. So that's also established by state statute. Is with your project would have to be finished, completely done with construction within 2 years. Once the project is completed, the CRA would notify the county that the project has been completed. The county appraises it, determines what that new valuation is, and at that point in time, the CRA would issue that notice to divide taxes. The taxes can be divided for a maximum of 15 years, just like with a traditional TIF project. Next. So this just sort of is another example of what that would look like. The blue is the base taxes that are collected on the property. Throughout those 15 years, you would still be paying the base tax amount. This tax amount is the tax increment from your new project. You'd also be paying that to the county, but this is the part that gets collected to pay for the project. Next slide. So this just is another way of showing it. You pay all your taxes to the county divides it into two. One of them goes to the taxing entities like the schools, the city, the county, whoever else collects taxes. The other portion of it goes, that's the tax increment collected by the Community Redevelopment Authority, and then the CRA uses that to pay the tax increment, to pay the TIF note. Next slide. So Randy, TIF note.
So when you get to a point where we have determined the city council's approved the project, the county assessor has reviewed that and said this is what we believe that value will be. The CRA will meet and probably pass a resolution or pass a motion to give a $30,000 promissory note to the owner of that project. That is the tax increment debt. That $30,000 is, once your project's completed, once it has been assessed by the county assessor and that value has been increased, about 18 months later, because our taxes are collected in arrears, you will start paying a higher tax amount. So you'll start paying the $3,200 in taxes. We'll start collecting $2,000 annually. The county treasurer splits that amount. They give the base taxes to all the political entities. They send the increased taxes over to the CRA. We have a meeting, approve the claim, send it to the property owner. And then, Tony, would you bump down to that next slide? And so there'll just be a table of cumulative outstanding principal amount. So that principal amount is $30,000. Your increased taxes are $2,000 a year, and most people pay that May 1st and September 1st. So that'd be $1,000 that we would collect in May and then pay out. You'd pay them again in September. We'd collect those taxes and pay those out, and that would just reduce that note by $1,000 each time you pay, or $2,000 a year. If your valuation goes up higher in year 2, 3, 4, or 5, and the taxes are more, or the levy goes up and the taxes are more, it will pay down that note quicker. So if your tax increase went to $3,000 instead of $2,000, it's going to knock that down faster. And so instead of 15 years, it might only be collected for 14, 13, 12 years. If your tax levy goes down, your valuation goes down, and the taxes are less, you may not ever get the $30,000. You'll just get 15 years worth of taxes at whatever is paid in. So if you paid in $25,000, that's what you'll get back. How's that for a confusing? I'm going to step away just to see.
Did you just say that's what you get it back?
Pardon?
You just said that's what you get it back? Yeah. So at the end of it, you get all this money you paid in, you get that back?
So your taxes,
Yeah.
increased taxes only,
Right.
the $2,000 a year that we're plugging in,
Yeah.
you're going to receive that back to pay down this TIF note, that TIF
Yeah, I
debt.
get that, but you said at the end there that you get it all back at the end of.
You get back $30,000 total, or
To use to pay out the TIF note.
yes. So every year you get increased taxes. If Edward, if you did the project and it's in your name, and everything got completed according to plan, you start paying your taxes. The county treasurer actually sends us, it has a parcel ID number, your name on it. It identifies it as a TIF project. We take that to a CRA meeting, put it on a claims list, and if it's exactly $2,000, we write it out. The city treasurer, Roger Nash, is also the CRA treasurer. He writes that check and sends it back to you, and then he makes a notation on that note that $2,000 has been paid off. So it's reduced to $28,000. The next year, if the increased taxes were $2,100,
Wait a minute. Sends the money to me, and I don't have to do anything with it but put it in the bank? Or I use it to pay the note off? You guys don't pay the note off, I pay the note off?
your taxes,
Yeah.
your increased taxes are paying the note off.
So you're losing me, never said it, you're gonna send me a check.
It sounds like that you're sending him a check and then he has to pay
I paid
TIF. But here's what you're really saying is it's automatically done to TIF.
It's automatically done.
Yeah.
It's automatically calculated
Right, that's what I
and
thought it was.
kept track at the treasurer's office.
What's the check I'm getting from her?
So the whole beauty of beauty, I say beauty, others say terrible thing, okay? The thing about TIF is your increased taxes are used to help the project.
Right.
So your project, in theory, is reduced by $30,000. So if you went and spent $100,000 and increased the value that much, you're going to get back 30
That'd be and then,
through the total
okay.
process,
All right.
through the 15 years. So it,
Incrementally.
yes,
I'll follow.
incrementally. So it reduces your cost to 70. Now you had to somehow come up with the money to improve your property, whether that's a loan or cash or whatever that might be. But you're getting that money to you. You put it in the bank.
I understand now. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So just want to also point out, Micro-TIF is not a way to defer or avoid paying taxes. You'll still be paying taxes, and also you need to make sure that there is that increase in value. And that's why at the beginning of the process, we have that conversation with the county as well to make sure that we can figure out what approximately, if the project you're planning to do will actually increase your value. I think that should be the last slide. Oh, and there's more, look at that. Okay, so the application process on our city's website, there's an online application portal page, and this just spells out how to get to that application to be able to submit it. I've also left some paper copies here for you to take if you'd rather submit it on paper instead of online. And that's all I have for you. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have either now or later.
So then this micro-TIF is only for homeowners that actually live in the home, not for developers to come buy up a lot and build something and then rent it to somebody or sell it and make money for themselves, correct? This is for homeowners only.
No.
That's how it was stated at the city council meeting.
I'm just telling you what I know about it. If there's a vacant lot down here, I couldn't do it, but Roy DeMars could go down, buy that vacant lot, build a house on it for, can't be valued any more than $350,000. Go through the process, make his application, go to the county assessor, do all those things, and statutes require the city council to approve that.
So in other words, other developers
Yes,
who are already making money can come in and do this.
yes,
Landlords,
yes.
everybody.
Because it's
Okay,
increasing the
then-
value of the property.
Then if they sell the property before this is all up, what happens?
So we provide the note to the developer. Okay, so if a developer came in, built a house, rented it, sold it, whatever he was doing, as long as he's gone through the process of the city application, getting the valuation, he can turn right around and sell that. We will still send him, because he is the owner of the note. Roy did this. Roy turned around and sold it. We're going to send him that. If it's $2,000, we're going to send it to him for 15 years,
Even though he doesn't own it anymore.
even though he doesn't own it.
And he sold it for a profit and he's still getting that to pay it off.
Sold it for a profit.
Where does that $30,000 come from to send to him?
Well, first we didn't send him $30,000.
Well, okay.
We
Over
did
the time
over.
period you're going
Right.
to.
He increased the value of the property. We're just using the $100,000 number.
Yeah.
But if he went and built the house, it'd probably be at $200,000. So it's a $4,000 a year times 15. So it's $60,000. we're gonna give him a note for $60,000. Every year, we're gonna collect $4,000 and send it back to him. So,
We're gonna collect 4,000 from where?
pardon?
From where?
From the taxes that he pays on the project, or the new owner pays on the project. So each, I'm not sure how to explain it.
Here's a forecast update from the local 4 weather team.
Oh, good. Thank you. So the tool, tax increment financing, or the process is the tax increase is used to help finance that project.
Right.
And we have to have a debt instrument. And so the debt instrument is that note. And that note says, Roy, we're gonna pay you this amount. We're gonna try and do it over 15 years. Here's what we've calculated that increase in value. He starts paying those taxes once the assessor has increased the value. He starts paying those, or if he sells it to somebody, they are paying those taxes. But we're going to send it to the holder of the note. So he is, just like Edward, is going to get back $30,000 over a 15-year period. Roy would get back that amount or more.
Percentage that is, yeah.
And it's not based on percentage, it's based on increased value, increased tax.
But he's going to get the money even though the guy that bought it's paying the taxes.
Yes.
But overall, in the long run, the community benefits because that's no longer an empty lot, it's no longer a piece of shit house.
That's the strategy.
Yes.
So
over time.
now if you ask me what my personal opinion is on Micro-TIF, I would not have voted for it because you lose control. Because it's automatic. Because when Roy comes in, buys that lot, goes through the application, goes to the county assessor, builds it like he said he was going to, as long as it's under $350,000, it's got to get approved. Now the legislature, when they passed this, voted 43-0 to pass it. And the guy that introduced it was an anti-TIF legislator. And so I was really confused when it took place and when it occurred. But that's what we've been given with our community development law.
Yeah. But it also raises the valuation on everything around it. I mean, if you, I don't know, I've heard 15 a year. Is that what we're doing? 15 chip things a year or something?
15 projects.
15 projects
Okay.
is what they agreed
So
to
you
do.
do them all in the blighted area, which apparently looks like the southern part of town by the map. That's going to increase that ward's valuation quite a bit if they're all brand new houses. And that's just using it as a brand new house.
Right.
So that's going to increase everybody's valuation.
I'm just trying.
I know,
here to
I'm just
explain
trying to
the
make sure I
process.
understand
Yeah, sure.
What's happening?
Yeah.
You know?
What happens to if the original applicant defaults on the note?
So which note are you talking
The
about?
TIF.
So the TIF note comes from the CRA.
Right, so what if
We're going to hand it to you.
right, so what if he doesn't,
So if you don't pay your taxes,
okay,
you don't get the money.
so, but he's no longer the property owner, he sold it.
Oh, okay. So if they don't pay their taxes, you don't get the money.
Whoever is sold it.
Right.
If they don't pay it, then he don't get the money.
Right. So the CRA is not at risk, the city's not at risk. In this case, Roy's at risk. Now, what happens when somebody doesn't pay their taxes on a brand new house? Probably a mortgage, bank steps in, they clean up the taxes, we collect them, we send them back.
Most mortgages have the lender paying taxes anyway.
Right. On a single-family
Right.
home. If it's a rental unit, maybe not. And there is some risk if somebody decided to do it that way, and they could also assign the note to the buyer and say, hey, I built this for $300,000, but I've got this $30,000 note here. You pay me $310 and I make a profit and you keep the note.
But if I buy the house from somebody who has a TIF, how do I know if their TIF is it?
So, well, it's going to be,
When they do the search?
so
Property
when
search?
you go online on a TIF project, if you have a TIF project, your property's in a TIF project, there's 2 tax bills, one for the base tax, one for the TIF tax, for the taxing. I don't think a lot of people are going to be building new homes, but I don't know about that. I think Grand Island passed this a year and a half ago, and they haven't done any residential projects at all.
I know it's been around for a while.
North Platte has done some.
And they don't allow it like in the big cities either, do they?
I don't think it's eligible to be used in Lincoln or Omaha. It's just in
Smaller communities.
Counties with less than 100,000.
counties of less than 100,000. There you go.
So what's the difference then between because I've talked to some guys that have done the TIF, and I don't understand the difference between the TIF and the micro-TIF. I mean, 350,000. Well, you're just taking the valuation, that extra.
The 350 number was put on by the legislature.
Yeah.
So,
And one of them told me that after the application project, he gets the approval, takes the note down to his bank or wherever, and they give him money.
so I didn't want to get into that, but that's another step, another possibility. So where's Edward? So I hand you a $30,000 note at 0% interest. Okay. You walk over to your local banker and say, hey, I'm improving this property. I've got the cash to do the improvements. I want cash for this note. What's that worth to you? And the banker says, well, our current interest rate's 8%. I'll loan you $17,000 to be paid back over 15 years at 8% interest. That's about $30,000 in. But again, the CRA will only send you what we capture. If it's more, you get more and you send it to the bank. And we're going to assign that note to the banker and say, okay, 5 Points Bank, you're now the recipient of these dollars. So you probably won't even get it. They'll probably go right straight to 5 Points Bank. But you don't get $30,000. You get 17 or 18 or whatever that interest rate. And so when a developer does this, he is not getting a $30,000 note in most cases. He is getting a $18,000 or $17,000 note because he has to pay interest. In my view, it's better to wait and take the 30 because you're making the 8% interest.
So why not just, for us, that aren't going to do that, why not just a home equity fund?
Well, your increased taxes won't. We still need to do this note. You can get a home equity loan and use those increased taxes once we send them back to you to pay down that. Yeah.
Why do it go through all this rigmarole?
Well, so this is the easy one, mind you. This is the expedited review. The developer does 90 to 120 days of process and plan modifications and cost-benefit analysis. The Micro-TIF doesn't require any of that. It skips it all.
few examples of some major TIF projects like in downtown Hastings, how they, you know, it was $1 million project and, you know, improvements and the taxes being captured. You know, just don't have to name a name, but, you know, just as an example to, you know, make it a little more clearer to folks.
Well, it's exactly the same process without a note at 0%. I mean, it's not the same. It's much more complicated, but all we're doing is capturing increased taxes. I mean, that's the simple part. Okay. That base taxes on this house here before it was improved was $1,200. It's going up to $3,200. We're taking the $2,000 increase, and we have to do these other things. We have to provide a note. We have to identify the increased value. We're taking our current levy of $1.996872, so it's actually going to be just a hair under $2,000. We're taking our current levy times 15 because we don't know what the next 14 years, what that levy will be. So we're estimating that, and that's what we do with the other projects. But in this particular case, you're getting at a 0% interest note. We're going to send you up to $30,000 back over 15 years.
So are there any fees involved in the
$50.
$50 when you apply for the development services.
And the legislature set this up to try and be real easy. I'm explaining the most difficult part of the process, and it's not going to be easy to. You can't walk into the assessor's office with a napkin and say I'm building a 10 by 12 garage. She needs to know more information than that, and so at some stage of the game you're going to have to show somebody some plans, because you are going to have to get a building permit at some stage of the game, and so it's easier than the traditional tax increment financing. It is designed for smaller projects, but it is still the same. We're going to capture taxes, increase taxes for up to 15 years to pay back. In this case, it'd be paying back either the property owner, whether that's a single family homeowner, whether that's a landlord, or whether that's a developer that builds a house.
When you said you're going to increase them for 15 years, that's just to get the payback. They're still going to be increased beyond that forever.
Yes. Yeah. So when you go to improve your house, and we're not trying to force the assessor to increase your taxes, CRA of the city won't have anything to do with that. That's your discussion with the assessor's office, and they're going to tell you, oh, well, you're doing all this remodel, you're adding an addition, you're adding a garage, here's the square footage, here's the materials. That's going to increase that value to a certain level, and that value may last should last for much more than 15 years. It should increase the value of the home for a 20 or 30 or 40 year period. But you continue to pay those taxes all throughout that process.
So to get that has to be improvements that can be seen on the outside, or what if you just need inside?
Oh.
So, Danielle Wahl, County Assessor. The things that we need to see, like just little changes here and there, like upgrading some windows or doing mild changes, aren't going to change your value that much. But if you're putting on a 20 by 30 addition to your home, that's going to add some significant value. If you're putting on a garage in your home, that's going to increase your value pretty substantially as well. Just small little things here and there.
What about siding?
Siding usually doesn't. Now, if you're upgrading your siding from, like you just have a vinyl siding and you're upgrading to the LP siding or something, that could potentially change your value some, but not enough just for the Micro-TIF project probably.
But I'm referring to if you need, he said if you needed, like if you have steps and stuff and you need to make it more accessible to you, or, you know, as you're getting older and you need to change things inside that people can't see outside.
It would depend on the extent of the remodel that would need to be done. If you're tearing out a whole bunch of walls and making things a lot larger, or tearing down walls and making things bigger, then that might contribute to more value. But just taking out a set of stairs and putting a ramp in wouldn't change enough value.
So you wouldn't probably qualify for that then. It wouldn't increase your taxes enough to make it beneficial for the city.
So the legislature passed this, but no skin in the game, basically.
Since it's all done locally, yes, yeah, because there's no state.
Why can't the local cities decide on themselves?
That's actually what occurred. That's why we're here. So the city council passed a resolution to allow Micro-TIF. They limited it to 15 projects to kind of basically test this out.
But you had to have the legislature say, yeah, that's okay.
Well, no, they said that it's okay 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah, we're just coming around to doing this, and so Mike and Steve, a year from now, if there's a floodgate that opens and everybody wants to do this, they have to decide: do we want to continue this? Do we want to increase the number of projects that we're going to allow? No, we saw too many developers come in and make money, and we don't want that. But you can pass a resolution to not allow Micro-TIF.
But if you were on the program already.
If you're on the program already,
finish out its 15 years.
Yeah, you finish out your 15 years. But or they could limit it to 5. They can do whatever they would like to do with it. So I think Grand Island did 20 a year is what they plugged in, and they've seen 3 or 4 or 5 maybe. But
So that money's actually just coming from the extra taxes that
your taxes. Okay. I mean, the person who did the project. We're going to point at Edward again. They're just coming out of Edward's taxes.
They like me way too much.
Just there, so nobody else is pitching in. And I know what the general argument on TIF is once that gets to 3,200, the other entities don't get it during that 15-year stretch. That's the argument. But on Micro-TIF, it comes right back to the person that did the development or did the improvement.
So we had any takers yet on this Micro-TIF?
Oh, this is just started June 1, right?
No, this is the
We've
4th
had quite
already.
a few
Or 3rd.
phone calls about the process already. I've had maybe 5 to 10 phone calls about people interested in potentially doing this. I also want to add in, when City Council approves or denies a TIF project, the only thing they can look at is it in a blighted area? Has it been within the city for 60 years, and does it conform to our comprehensive plan? If it meets all those criteria, it passes.
Well, why do we even put it for the city council then if they don't have a choice?
Well,
Legislature said you had to.
I mean, if it doesn't meet any of those criteria, then they could possibly deny it.
Yeah.
But
So it doesn't matter how much money they're putting into it to improve it? That doesn't have anything to do with it?
well, as long as the value doesn't go above that $350,000 after the project's done.
But how low can it go? I mean, do you have to have a certain amount that you're investing in it to get approved?
The only issue is if the value is going to increase. So if you spent $10,000 but it's going to increase your valuation $1,000. If you wanted to go through the paperwork, you'd get $20 for taxes, but you can get it for 15 years.
Well, they laugh, but some people may not be able to afford it.
No, it's designed for $350 and under. And so as long, you know, if it's not going to increase your value, if you're spending $5,000 to paint it and carpet it, but that doesn't increase the valuation.
Yeah, the taxes, if they're going to make money on the taxes, you're not going to approve it.
If you're not going to be spending more in taxes, then you may go ahead and do it anyway. It just won't help you to go through the process of doing this. But that's what the assessor's office is there for. You describe what you're doing, and again, $50,000 may only get you a $5,000 increase in value depending upon what you're doing.
But like somebody else said, if you're improving the places around us, our taxes are going to be increased too, just because that place is improving. If it's improving the area, it's going to increase the taxes in the area.
You know, I can't imagine that one house in a neighborhood would do that, but
well, they're going up sky high without any improvement. So
Yeah,
one house can.
I got my notices today. Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah. 7,200 went
We
up.
all got them,
Last.
20,000.
I didn't do any improvement.
Great timing to have this meeting, wasn't it?
Yeah, you got to ask your elected officials all those questions, right?
You know, if your project's going to be a small project and you need some help, we have Alyssa here, she's going to get a little lecture or speech or presentation, there's what I'm looking for, on what her organization can do to help everyone. Before I forget, I want to take a survey. Now, who's from the 4th Ward? Raise your hand. 4th Ward. Where you vote?
First.
Fourth Ward. Who's from the 3rd Ward? Okay. I hope you're counting.
That was 5.
Well, thank you. Who's from the 2nd Ward? 2. 1st Ward? Good, we got a good turnout. Glad to see everyone.
Well, we're the blighted area.
We're the biggest area too.
Yes,
You know,
definitely.
in the city, geographically speaking, so.
Should we all be wearing masks or something if we're black?
Yeah.
I took a shower. After you, Lisa, go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Alyssa Hagge. I'm the Executive Director of the Housing Development Corporation. I have the distinct privilege of representing 5 different counties in central Nebraska. So I serve Adams, Clay, Hall, Nuckolls, and Webster County. So the programs that we offer are affordable rentals. We have rental units in both Hastings and Grand Island. We do rent-to-own units where individuals are moved into low-income rentals. They rent for us for up to 15 years and then purchase the house. And then we have our owner-occupied rehab program, which is kind of why I'm here tonight. My program is slightly different than TIF. TIF does have its benefits, but as you're asking about siding, carpeting, it doesn't cover that. However, my program can assist with that. So we offer grants to qualified low-income applicants. That is anyone in a household making 80% adjusted median income or lower. I cannot tell you what that number is because it's a sliding scale based upon your household and the county you live in. So that is a lot of numbers for me to remember. So if you're curious, I brought my spreadsheet. So feel free to ask later. What we do is we can make homes accessible and safe. So for instance, I have a project right now in Clay County. The individual is now in a wheelchair, but he has carpeted floors. So we're coming in, we're ripping up the carpet, we're putting in flooring. That is what our grant can do to make the house safe and accessible. Micro-TIF isn't able to do that because the change in flooring won't be enough of a value change to affect the tax base. So that's kind of why I'm here tonight, is because those of you who are going, well, I've got chipped paint, my siding's falling off, my project can qualify for you if you're at that 80% or below. There are a couple of stipulations. You do have to have homeowner's insurance on your property for at least 12 months. And the most important thing that I hate to share is we do have a wait list. Unfortunately, we have far too many properties in our 5-county area that needs repairs than I have the capacity to do as a staff of 1. So we have a wait list of 10. We're looking at about 18 months right now for those at the bottom of the list. I recommend you get your application in as fast as possible. I think I covered all of it. I should mention this is my, 5th week on the job. So I gave a presentation with Ember to the state on my 7th day of work, so this is not a big deal. But we do have 2 other programs that are just currently on hold. We have down payment assistance for first-time home buyers, and then we have tenant and home buyer education classes. So those 2 programs will hopefully be coming back in the next 6 months as I get up to speed on training and find funding. So
How does that work for payback, or what you said it was a grant?
The owner-occupied rehab. So it is a grant program. 75% is forgiven over 10 years. 25% is due at point of sale. So how that happens is, let's say we come in, we make improvements to your home. 3 years later, you decide to sell your house. The 75% has decreased. I don't remember the percentage over those 3 years. So let's say 70% now is what's owed and 5% has been forgiven. You pay that plus the 25% back out of the sale of your home. If after 10 years you sell your home, only 25% is due back. And then it's also upon transfer of the home, because we do have a couple who go, well, I'm going to leave my home to my kids when I pass. At that point, they're responsible for the 25%. And then that money goes right back into our program to do more repairs. So it's a circular process, and only 10% of our total costs out of that can go towards administration. So the majority of the funding goes to home repair. That answer your question?
So where are you based out of then? Are you in Hastings or?
I am in Hastings at the Chamber of Commerce office, but I'm also splitting my time in Grand Island as we build back that location. So I'm 50-50 between both until I can get more staff hired. And then I'll probably still be 50-50 between both. Any other questions? No? I know TIF is hard to understand. I had someone try to explain it to me, and he goes, it takes at least 7 times to learn it before you actually understand it. So I loved all of the questions tonight, because I still going, okay, this would be education number 5, so I'm allowed 2 more. Thank you.
That's all we got, I think. If somebody has any questions, I'd be happy to take our own answer.
Yeah, you can look at it. You can
I didn't ask it.